What if the dishes the global culinary elite routinely credits to classical European empires were actually perfected, reinvented, or flat-out created on the other side of the Atlantic, in a swampy, humid, gloriously chaotic corner of the American South that most mainstream food historians somehow keep skipping over? What if Louisiana, a geographic anomaly most people casually associate with late-night jazz, commercialized Mardi Gras, and prehistoric alligators, quietly outcooked, out-seasoned, and out-engineered one of the most celebrated culinary cultures on the planet? The food resting on your dinner plate right now has been lying to your palate for decades. Today, we are conducting a complete historical intervention to set the record straight. Welcome to the Origine Plate. Today, we are launching a comprehensive forensic audit into 11 iconic dishes, tracing the migration of raw ingredients, forgotten labor, and brilliant kitchen adaptations to prove that Louisiana didn't just borrow its identity, it built an empire that permanently altered the global baseline of flavor. Our first case file investigates a structural masterpiece that completely shatters the boundaries of traditional sandwich architecture, the muffuletta. It does not whisper, it announces itself with absolute structural authority. A massive, round, sesame-seeded Sicilian loaf is sliced horizontally and loaded with meticulously arranged layers of cured salami, artisanal ham, peppery mortadella, and sharp provolone. But the single component that forces this entire structure to harmonize is an aggressively seasoned, garlic-heavy, briny olive salad that deeply saturates the crumb of the bread. Because the vocabulary, the proteins, and the bread style are unyielding in their Italian lineage, the culinary world assumes it is a pure product of the old country. That assumption is flatly incorrect. The muffuletta was systematically invented in New Orleans in 1904 by a Sicilian immigrant named Salvatore Lupo, the visionary proprietor of Central Grocery on Decatur Street in the French Quarter. This trajectory leads directly to Case File 2, a legendary seafood preparation whose very identity is wrapped in a brilliant nomenclature deception: New Orleans barbecue shrimp. If you order this dish expecting a charcoal grill, hickory wood smoke, or a single drop of tomato-based sweet barbecue sauce, you will be utterly bewildered, perhaps momentarily offended, and then instantaneously converted for life. Louisiana barbecue shrimp features absolutely zero barbecue mechanics. Instead, you are presented with a roaring iron skillet of massive, head-on Gulf shrimp swimming in a luxurious, dark, emulsion-style butter sauce heavily backed by Worcestershire, cracked black pepper, raw garlic, and an intense combination of local Delta spices. Our third entry uncovers a theatrical dessert masterpiece whose sophisticated European flair masks a brilliant story of local port economics, Bananas Foster. There is a specific moment in iconic New Orleans dining rooms where a specialized cart is wheeled tableside, and a server deliberately ignites a pan of dark rum, banana liquor, brown sugar, and native dairy, creating a spectacular blue geyser of flame that caramelizes the mixture over sliced bananas in under 90 seconds before blanketing vanilla ice cream. Invented in 1951 at Brennan's restaurant on Royal Street by Chef Paul Blanc, the dessert was engineered at the direct request of owner Owen Brennan. At the time, the Port of New Orleans was the absolute primary maritime gateway for banana imports arriving from Central and South America, and the city's warehouses were quite literally overflowing with the perishable fruit. Case File 4 shifts our forensic lens to a confectionery staple that highlights the profound, uncredited genius of historically marginalized kitchen laborers, the New Orleans praline. European culinary texts eagerly trace this sweet back to a 17th-century French confection consisting of individual almonds cooked in caramelized sugar, named in honor of the military diplomat Marshal Duplessis Praslin. But what occurred when that concept crossed the Atlantic was not a subtle adaptation, it was a total evolutionary restructuring. 19th-century French Creole cooks of color, operating as independent street entrepreneurs known as praliniers, completely discarded the hard-to-source European almond. In its place, they substituted native Louisiana pecans, which grew in wild, oily abundance across the river basins. This ethos of revolutionary transformation brings us to Case File 5. Bread pudding. With whiskey sauce, every foundational culinary culture across the globe possesses an algorithmic solution for stale, leftover bread. Whether it is the Italian ribollita, the British summer pudding, or the French pain perdu. But because Louisiana completely rejects the concept of subtle restraint, its interpretation is an absolute sensory assault. The baseline mechanic involves soaking stale loaves in a rich egg custard mixture before baking. However, the New Orleans iteration elevates this thrift practice by utilizing discarded local French bread. Our sixth case file examines a globally recognized fried dough tradition that exposes the immense difference between a basic culinary concept and an absolute cultural pilgrimage: the New Orleans beignet. The term itself is explicitly French, and the basic physics of dropping choux pastry into hot fat can be found in European texts dating back centuries. But if you walk into a classical Parisian bakery expecting the sensory experience found at the edge of Jackson Square, you will leave deeply disappointed and profoundly covered in far less sugar than you deserve. The Louisiana beignet is an entirely separate biological species of pastry, a perfectly square. This brings us to Case File 7, where an abrupt kitchen supply shortage in 1889 birthed an international legend: Oysters Rockefeller. Antoine's restaurant on St. Louis Street was facing an immediate operational crisis when their imported shipment of French snails failed to arrive. The kitchen needed an immediate substitute for their high-demand escargot plates. The chef, Jules Alciatore, looked at the mountains of fresh, our eighth entry detours directly out of the city limits and deep into the dense, flooded interior of the Acadiana Basin to analyze a dish of supreme technical execution: crawfish touffe. While modern city menus frequently capitalize on its popularity, this preparation was not born in a metropolitan restaurant. It emerged from the small, swamp-adjacent town of Breaux Bridge in the early 20th century. Derived from the French verb meaning to smother, un touffe is a masterclass in slow, low-moisture braising. Freshly peeled crawfish tails are simmered slowly in a rich blonde roux alongside the holy trinity of onions, celery, and green bell peppers. Case File 9 tracks a legendary sandwich born out of pure political and economic solidarity: the po' boy. In the blistering autumn of 1929, New Orleans streetcar workers launched a massive, high-stakes labor strike that completely paralyzed the city's transit system. Two brothers, Benny and Clovis Martin, former streetcar conductors who had opened a humble sandwich shop on St. Claude Avenue, pledged to support their striking union brothers by providing free food for the duration of the conflict. They commissioned a local baker to engineer an entirely new style of French bread that maintained a completely uniform width from end to end, maximizing structural filling capacity. Whenever a starving striker walked through the shop door, the kitchen staff would call out, "Here comes another poor boy." The sandwich was stuffed to maximum capacity with slow simmered roast beef debris and rich gravy or crisp fried seafood. Our 10th entry uncovers an elegant, forgotten hybrid, born from the dense intersection of Caribbean migration and Creole high society, daube glace. To the uninitiated, this dish looks like a classic European aspic or a refined Italian head cheese. It consists of a deeply seasoned, slow-braised beef round that is meticulously shredded and suspended in a crystal-clear, intensely flavored natural gelatin broth, served cold as a spreadable luxury appetizer. While food historians often try to attribute this purely to traditional French charcuterie methods, daube glacé was completely reinvented in the humid kitchens of New Orleans to solve a brutal environmental problem: the relentless, pre-refrigeration heat of the Deep South. We finish our forensic culinary audit with Case File 11, the undisputed foundational monarch of Louisiana food history, gumbo. This single bowl of stew is not merely a recipe. It is a complex, multi-layered historical ledger of global migration and cultural collision. Gumbo brings together 4 distinct geopolitical civilizations within a single earthen pot. The French contributed the foundational technique of the fat and flour roux, cooked patiently until it reaches a dark, smoky, chocolate complexity. The Spanish colonial periods introduced the aromatic seasoning profiles. The native Choctaw Nation provided fill powder ground sassafras leaves used as a definitive thickener and aromatic. And most importantly, enslaved West African agriculturalists introduced okra, the vegetable whose name in the Igbo language gumbo gives the entire dish its linguistic identity. Gumbo predates every major wave of modern European immigration to the region. It was forged in the isolated bayou cabins and early colonial hearths of Louisiana long before the rest of the world even recognized the territory exists. It is a stunning, uncompromised monument to survival, cultural synthesis, and pure flavor endurance. The global culinary ledger has spent over a century misattributing these masterworks to distant European capitals, failing to realize that the true capital of flavor innovation was operating right here in the American Delta. Louisiana didn't copy the world. The world has spent generations trying to replicate the absolute magic of the marsh. Thank you for decoding the data with us today on the Origine Plate. If this forensic breakdown of Louisiana's true culinary history permanently rearranged your understanding of the food on your plate, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below letting us know which of these 11 dishes completely shocked your historical baseline. And as always, stay curious, keep analyzing the data, and never take your food history at face value.